Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Pennington County Planning Commission meeting, October 14th, 2025. And recommendations of the Planning Commission. We'll give you a chance. You guys have been hiding out front, huh? Thank you. Recommendations to the Planning Commission on certain items from this agenda will be considered by the Board of Commissioners at their regular meeting on October 21st, 2025 at 10:30 a.m. I usually comment that's an approximate time they get to the planning items. That is not meaning that any specific item that you're looking at would come up at 10:30. The Planning Commission utilizes speaker request forms, which are available in the commission chambers during the meeting. They're in the back in the little holder. Roll call. Everyone's here. Solve that one. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the meeting of September 22nd? If so, and they're in your agenda packet and you feel comfortable, the chair would address a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the September 22nd, 2025 minutes of the Pennington County Planning Commission. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The agenda was in your same packet, either you viewed it online or as the packet. If you've had a chance to review that, the chair would address a motion to approve that agenda.
So move. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as submitted, either on the internet or on the packet form. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do we need to mention the recess as an addition to the agenda? I'm just asking.
Probably not. We're going to wait until
Okay.
I haven't. Nobody's pulled the trigger on it yet.
Okay, thank you.
What she was referring to is, unfortunately, and it appears that it will be so, we will have to adjourn for an emergency meeting of the Board of Commissioners at 10:15, and we won't resume then until 10:45. In which case, we will have to get off here and they reset up and they'll have their meeting and go from there. Right now, the plan is that's going to happen. So if you have any calls to make or anything, that might be the time you want to make them. All right, additional discussion on the agenda. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Hand, Planning Director. The following items have been placed on the consent agenda for action to be taken on all items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration. The findings of this planning commission on certain items from this agenda are recommendations to the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, who will make the final decision. Item number 4 is conditional use permit review CU 9159 for Melissa Earhart to review a single-wide mobile home to be used as a single-family residence in a suburban residential district, and staff recommends to end conditional use permit review CUR 9159 with the applicant's concurrence. Item number 5 is conditional use permit review CUR 9327 for Herman Jones to review a single-wide mobile home as a single-family residence in a suburban residential district, and staff recommends to end conditional use permit review CUR 9327 as it is no longer needed. Item number 6 is conditional use permit review CUR 1625 for Alvin and Sharon Gullickson to review a vacation home rental in a rural residential district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 7 is conditional use permit review COCUR 24-0013 for Jeff Devaney to review a tattoo shop in a highway service district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 8 is conditional use permit review COCUR 24-0025 for David and Megan Collier to review an accessory dwelling unit in an agriculture district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 9 is planned unit development overlay review PUR 2203 for Nathan and Alexis Soboleski to review a planned unit development overlay for a specialty resort in an agriculture district, and staff recommends approval. Item number 10 is Plan Unit Development Overlay Review, PUR 2306 for Horse Creek LLC to review a recreational resort in a commercial district, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Brittany. First question is, anybody have anything that's of a clerical nature in regards to any of the consent items that they want to comment on now where they found an error? Next thing would be any polls. Do you have anything you would like to poll, Brittany?
We do not at this time.
Does the commission have any item they'd like to pull from the consent agenda? The audience, is anyone here to speak on these items and you would like to have it pulled? That would be items 4 through 10. Chair to address a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve this consent calendar as enumerated by the agenda. Items 4 through 10. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 11.
Good morning, Commissioners. Christine Phillip, Assistant Planner. Agenda item number 11 is for conditional use permit COCU 25-0018. The applicant owner is David Wyckoff. Location is 14773 Shetland Lane. The zoning is suburban residential district. There's no flood hazard on the property. The zoning ordinance lists 7 criteria that the Planning Commission may consider in their reviews of a conditional use permit applications. These are listed on the screen. The request was routed for an interdepartmental review. The one comment received from South Dakota DANR was received in your packet, and there were no other objections or concerns. The applicant has requested a conditional use permit to allow a home occupation, a home-based firearms business. The applicant has a South Dakota sales tax license. The Department of Justice Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has been in contact with the staff, making sure that the allowed land use and/or permits are correct for an FFL license holder. Services will not include activities that involve hazardous materials, and staff has not received any complaints regarding this request. Staff recommends approval of COCU 25-0018 with 12 conditions.
Thanks, Christine. Questions for Christine on this item?
The owner is available if you have any
All
questions
right,
for him.
I've got a couple of speaker request forms first we'll address, and then we'll, no questions for Christine, we'll let her off the podium and we'll go from there. Ronald Cordes.
Thank you, Commissioners and Chairman. My name is Ron Cordes. I'm the president of the Valley View Estates Homeowners Association. Normally, we have our meetings on Tuesday nights, like for tonight, but when we became light of this situation, we decided to hold our meeting last Thursday, and we invited David Wyckoff to come in and to speak to us. After listening to him and listening to his how he's going to run the business, that's not actually going to be run out of his home, but out of his garage. We okayed that as a board, so we are in favor of that. And so any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Go right
I
ahead.
just want to say thank you for putting that meeting together. It makes our job a lot easier up here knowing that there's not a bunch of rift going on between the neighbors.
Yeah, we were concerned about it being an actual firearms business because the only thing we would ask is that no signs would be allowed, okay, because it is in a neighborhood, so.
And they do have to have a separate permit for that sign, so
Oh,
he just can't put a sign up. He's going to have to go through the permit process, and it sounds like you guys have already agreed not to put a sign up, so
not to put a sign up?
Right.
Is that correct? Yes, that is correct.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the record, there is a condition that states no on-premises and retail sales be allowed. So just so that was part of what your comment was in regarding in public. Okay, the next one is, that's right, it's Linda. Shelley?
My name is Linda Schilling, and I live at 14782. I am across the street and 3 doors down from the Wyckoffs. I am also on the board for out there, but I speak not on behalf of the board, but I speak as a neighbor. When I first saw the sign go up, and it said conditional use permit, it had a phone number, I called that phone number several times, and always got a recording that said this number cannot be completed as dialed. So that kind of put a red flag up for me. Then we got a letter that said it was a firearm business, and I immediately pictured a closet full of rifles and guns, and the neighbors outside of our general community flocking in to try to retrieve these guns that were in the closet of his house. That turned out not to be true at all. We invited him to our board meeting. He answered all of our questions, set our minds at ease. And I personally, as a neighbor, believe he would be much more of an asset than a liability to our community. And so I would urge you to support this permit. And I urge him to continue to be the good neighbor and wish them the best. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, questions for
So,
Linda?
ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
if this
Please.
gets approved,
Questions
I
first.
believe the standard procedure is that this gets reviewed in 1 year or upon a complaint basis. So if this does get approved and something goes haywire, you certainly want to bring that to the attention.
You'll hear
of the
about it.
Planning and zoning. And if nothing, once again, it's just not a free-for-all. It gets reviewed after 1 year to make sure that there hasn't been any problems.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda. Any other questions? Okay, the applicant's here. David? Anything you want to add or questions? We might have any questions for David? Okay. I guess we're
Mr.
clear.
Chair.
Yes.
So would there be any set business hours, or is it just here and there, or how's that work?
Yes, sir. With the firearms business, I have to have certain hours that are open so that the ATF can have a chance to check the business for compliance. So on Saturdays from 10 to 2, past, kind of in, like you could mow your lawn
Yeah.
type of thing, those are my open hours. But on all the other days, it's by appointment only. And that's generally our business is single.
Yeah, I'm just assuming they're not going to see a lot of vehicle traffic like a,
They'll get more traffic from my family that comes to visit than they will from the business itself.
okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you, David.
Thanks.
Any other discussion the commission would like to have? Hearing none, I'd be capable of accepting a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve COCU 25-0018. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve conditional use permit CU 25-0018, and I would assume you meant with 12 conditions. It's open for discussion. Any discussion from the audience? From the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. On to item number 12.
Morning, Commissioners. Jason Thennison, Assistant Planning Director. Agenda item number 12 is a rezone CORZ 25-0011 to rezone from Agriculture District and Rural Residential District to Ranchette District. The applicant and landowners are Howard and Cynthia Dressler. The other affected landowner is U Lazy 2 LLC, which is Mary Ann Schmitz. Location of the property is 13479 Schmitz Trail. Currently zoned Agriculture District and Rural Residential District. Access is off Schmitz Trail, and there's no special flood hazard area on the property. Staff does a zoning designation comparison. See that on the screen. Proposed zoning is far right. It does have 2 future land uses on the property being rezoned. We do also take into account current zoning, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, and future land use within 1/2 mile on the right-hand side of the screen. The proposed lot, they are platting through the city of Rapid City right now. It is within the 3-mile platting jurisdiction, so the proposed lot here is on the left. The existing lot is on the right. You can see on the left, the existing lot line here. It is a 6-acre parcel. It fits rural resident, or fits a ranchette district, which is the request, which carries a 5-acre minimum lot size. With that, staff does recommend approval, as it does appear to meet current zoning in the area as well as the future land use in the area. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions for Jason?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so Jason, he's just kind of reconfiguring the shape of the lot?
They're doing a lot line adjustment plat through the city of Rapid City for pretty much this entire parcel. They're creating some separate lots in here. It does involve this portion in section 14 as well. But this request right now is only for this lot here.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions for Jason? Anyone here from the audience here to speak on this? Any discussion the commission would like to have on this?
Mr. Chair, go ahead and make a motion to approve lot line adjustment plan COLLAPL 25-0004 with conditions.
Quick correction on that. This is the rezone, CORZ 25-0011.
Okay, let me correct that. Rezone, move to approve rezone CORZ 25-0011 with conditions.
Second.
Approved and seconded to approve CORZ 25-0011, and there is no conditions on a rezone. Discussion. Hearing none. Anyone, discussion from the audience before we vote on it? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 13.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Brittany Hand, Planning Director. Item number 13 is Lot Line Adjustment Plan, COLLAPL 25-0004 for Dana and Michelle Rogers. It's to combine 2 lots to create Tract 5R of Summit Peak Estates subdivision. Staff is recommending approval of this lot line adjustment plat with 5 conditions, as this is in harmony with lot sizes and current land uses in the area. So they are just looking at creating this Tract 5R as a 10.9 acre lot size. There will be no rezone that's required.
Questions for Brittany?
I live right here, just over the hill, and it says flood hazard none. It floods, it can, and I don't think this will hurt anything. But you've got none on this, and it goes over the road, it has over the years, so.
It probably just isn't a designated special flood hazard area.
That's what I figured, yeah. So anyhow, no, I have no problem with it, no.
Any other questions for Brittany? Anyone here to speak on item 25-004, the lot line adjustment, item number 13? Chair to address a motion.
I'll move to approve lot line adjustment plan COLLAPL 25-0004.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve lot line adjustment plan, COLAPL 25-004 with 5 conditions. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14.
Item number 14 is conditional use permit review, CUR 9736 for Highway 16 Storage LLC to review storage units in a commercial district. And the reason this was brought in front of the Planning Commission is there was a complaint on this property due to like stuff being stacked and stored against the property line. If you look at this property, it does abut residential in that rear. This is an older conditional use permit that has it doesn't have very many conditions, essentially. So staff is asking that the Planning Commission possibly require screening on those back portions of this lot that abut the residential district. And in 1997, our zoning ordinance didn't require screening as part of commercial districts up against residential districts. They do at this time, and so staff feels with the concerns from the neighboring property owners that the Planning Commission add that condition to this conditional use permit.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, these folks came to me, and, I don't think they'd be concerned if there was RVs or campers, but obviously this material that's stored there isn't RVs and campers. It's more of an eyesore, and I think it personally devalues the neighbor's property with residential. So not asking them to move the material, just tell them to put some screening up to protect the neighbor's property rights.
Any other questions for Brittany? Go ahead.
What kind of screening? The lattice work in the chain link, or what would be used?
So screening can be anything. It could be lattice in the chain link. It could be, a privacy fence, a wood privacy fence. It could be vegetation. All of those are adequate, just depending upon the.
Because I see they've got the chain link already. That's what I wondered. So the lattice work in that would qualify for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other things for Brittany? I have one. Even though this says 97, it actually wasn't developed as a standalone type of storage until like more recently, hasn't it? It didn't used to have a whole bunch of fence around it, buildings in it, and within that little confine.
Yes, the operation has expanded over time.
Correct. So there must have been some building permits, that sort of thing, right? You've got-
Correct.
Because I believe even one of the buildings was added within the last year or so, hasn't it?
It was, and it required a variance from the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, because of the setback?
Correct.
All right. And the only reason I bring it up is because we always run into this situation where we have older CUPs that have been in existence, and then they developed a little different, and then we get down the road and there's more people in the area, or neighbors change, that sort of thing. And it's always difficult for me to weigh those back and forth. In other words, how far do we go? What the items that the departments requesting we take a look at adding would be they're in our current requirements?
Correct.
Okay.
They are for commercial and, we don't have highway service anymore, but any commercial or industrial zoning, we require screening if it abuts residential.
And there is one light there that does coming down Highway 16 all the time, because I live up in Hill City, and I'm sure Mike will agree. There is one light that really nails 16 on there, and I was surprised the state hasn't said anything about it. When you come over the hill, you almost think car coming down the lane at you from some of the lights down right in that particular area.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so if I recall, he didn't follow the 25-foot setback. He had items in there that didn't meet the 25-foot setback. So he removed those, but that 25-foot setback doesn't apply to storage materials and building materials, and so he took advantage of that 25 feet by putting something, to me, which is an eyesore to the neighbor, and to me, if he wants to do it, I'm good with it, but I think he should screen, so his residential neighbor doesn't have to look at that material.
So there were Connex
Right.
structures out there, and because they were considered structures, they were asked to be moved. So then that's where the other material, the building material, trailers with material on them got put in.
Where would the screening, based on the picture, can you give us an idea where you would, it would meet, if we put the new requirement in there as a condition?
Sure. It would be along anything that abuts the residential. So this is rural residential and this is suburban residential, so it would be
The
along
horseshoe down in that end?
that portion.
Okay.
So if you look,
Is the applicant here?
I'm not aware that he is.
How does the board commission feel about adding conditions without somebody's response to an old CUP?
Well, I think,
Open to
I
comments.
just think that it's not an expensive request, and it certainly protects the neighbors. And he can put the material right up to the edge of the fence if he wants, just asking that he be considerate of the neighbors and put some screening in that cyclone fencing, which is, all he's doing is running slats in that fencing. It's not that big of a deal.
Did the building variance that they got to the commissioner, that doesn't apply then the rest of the fence line, in other words?
No, it just applies to that structure.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, do you want a motion to review this at the January meeting to give them time to comply with it? Is that why?
Yes, that would give them time to comply if the planning commission chooses to add that
The
condition.
screening, okay, thank you.
Chair's open to a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we go ahead and add the screening as another condition to be reviewed at the, what'd you say, January?
January 12th.
Yeah.
January 12th.
Would we have to add all three of the conditions then that are on part of the approval?
Yes, you would add an additional condition number 4 that would require
The only
screening.
reason I bring that up, you'd want to do that in your motion, is all three of the,
Right.
okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendation, CUR 97-13 with 3 additional conditions, one including a January 12th, 2026 review. Any comments or,
Mr. Chair,
yes, discuss.
I don't see where there's a condition added for the screening.
There wasn't one. So when Cody wrote the staff report, it was going to be a recommendation that the planning commission add it. Staff did not add it. It was a request from staff to see if the planning commission would be on board with adding that condition.
So if we want the screening required, shouldn't we add that as a condition
At this time.
Yes.
at this time?
That's
I just wanted to
probably
clarify that, yeah.
excellent discussion.
And it should be screening for the portion of the fence that butts residential, right?
Correct,
Rural and suburban residential,
correct.
okay.
Okay, that would be a 4th condition.
So I think
Is
we
that
need to
correct?
add the fourth condition.
Is that all
I
right
think we're
with
getting it
the?
dialed in, correct?
Okay. All right, then we're going to do that. Is that fine with the second? Yes.
Just curious if the stuff that's been parked out there is new. I was just looking at the aerial, and it looks like it is mostly motor homes and boats and stuff like that, or has it turned into just junk recently?
It has turned into other material. It was originally motorhomes and boats and things like that. And at that time, we weren't receiving complaints from the neighborhood when the Connex buildings started coming in, and then the material, the remnant material, building materials come in. There was trailers with material on it. That's when we started getting calls.
Any additional discussion? Okay, I'm gonna, just before I call for a vote, I'm gonna redo this. The board, the commission is recommending approval of CUR 97-36 per staff's recommendation with 4 conditions. One of the conditions being a review on January 12th, 2026. The 4th condition being screening to be added to the residential fence line at present. That is present right now.
Correct. The fence line that abuts the residential district.
Yep. Does everybody understand what they're voting for? Okay. Any other discussion from the audience? from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 15.
So item number 15 is Comprehensive Plan Amendment, COCA 25-0009 for Shane Schreiner to amend the comprehensive plan to change the future land use from rural residential district, suburban residential district, highway service district to commercial district. And staff is recommending to continue this to the October 27th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. The applicants did request that their subdivision regulation variance be continued in front of the Board of Commissioners because they could not attend. So that pushes this item out as well in front of the Planning Commission.
Questions for Brittany about that from the
Now, Mr.
board?
Chair,
Yes.
Brittany, I'm good with that, but explain why they're trying to go the general commercial. Right now, they're highway service, and highway service, they can do just about anything commercial. But the county's going away from highway service zoning, so it'd just be common sense that it's going to be a commercial district, is that correct?
Correct. So there are two parcels here, and two of the parcels are split in the middle by that small triangular parcel. So they're trying to plat these lots. The portion that's in the red right now is highway service, which now is actually commercial district. We don't have highway service. It's all just one commercial district. And so there's a 1.3 acre parcel that you can see there that has the ag and the suburban residential district zoning that has dual zoning that will become one lot. So that's the portion that they're actually asking to be rezoned to commercial. That other 9 acre portion is already commercial and and allows commercial uses on that property. I know that there was a lot of concern about UTV and ATV rentals. In actuality, that 9 acre parcel could, as a use by right, have that already.
So then if this, next meeting, if this zoning request gets approved, then is that going to be 1 lot, 2 lots, or 3 lots? when it's
That's
all
going
said?
to be 2 lots.
3
So,
lots.
2 lots,
And 2, with
2.
all being, hypothetically, all being zoned commercial.
correct, if the subdivision regulation variance gets approved.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone here from the audience here to speak on this today? Yes, sir. Would you please come up and introduce yourself by name and then go ahead and go forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Henderson. I represent Cross Sabres Partnership, which is a family partnership. This topic is not even the reason that I'm here, but I didn't even know it was going to come up. We have adjoining property next to the Shriners' property across Highway 16. I had no idea this was coming up today, but if it's just a continuance, I understand that, and that's fine. The thing that I don't understand, I missed the last meeting, that I don't understand is that, you know, I believe the Shriners have applied for a variance on the for the approach onto Reno Gulch Road. So, and I'm not sure, I might be way ahead of myself or way behind, I'm not sure which. But I guess my question is, if the county has all these ordinances for all these different reasons, I don't know why they would, you know, they would grant a variance. I mean, if they're gonna develop that thing into an RV business or whatever, I would think that they should be required to, by county ordinances, to put in an approach that meets those specifications. But again, I might be ahead, I might be behind. But if this, I don't see any of the people in the neighborhood that planned on being here. So I know there's been a mix-up on the continuances and all that, so I guess that's the only comment I have, or a question, I think, Mr. Chair, is if this is going to be continued, then there's no reason for me to be up here, but I guess that's my question or point or whatever.
To be honest, I think there is a reason you're here and you spent your time to come here, so I always look at the people that take the time to come here. That is a good question. I'm not sure I can answer the question in regard to the approach. And really, your department doesn't answer it, does it? Highway does the approach, don't they?
Correct. So The subdivision regulation variance is for road improvements to Reno Gulch Road.
Right.
That did get continued to the October 21st Board of Commissioners meeting to be heard in front of the Board of Adjustment, and it's for road improvements to Reno Gulch Road. If they do a commercial building permit or a commercial business, they will have to put a commercial approach on that lot, and that would be required at the time of building permit submittal. And that would be up to the highway department. If they wanted to have an exception to that approach requirement, they would have to come again in front of the Board of Commissioners under the ordinance 14 and request an exception to that.
Okay.
So,
Will that answer your question, John?
I believe it does, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
you're welcome.
Yep, and thank you, guys.
Appreciate your time.
You
Thank
bet.
you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
so at the last meeting, Schaefer was there, and he thought that approach was going to come off that corner. You see the corner to the south? And that's not the case, but that's what him and the neighbors thought, and that would not be a good place to put an approach. So, anyhow, I think at this next meeting with the engineer and the owner being there, we're going to get a lot more detailed and more answers answered for you.
Okay, so you're talking about the approach on the Reno Gulch Road?
Off the Reno Gulch, correct.
Okay.
We just don't know how they're going to lay these properties out, because we already have highway access to the large lot. And they might do some kind of an internal access between their two lots, which wouldn't need an approach off of Reno Gulch, so.
Okay, but you're not talking about approach onto Highway 16-385.
No, that one's already there,
That's considered a legal approach.
correct.
Okay, as you, as you recall very well, there was a big issue with the DOT about additional approaches, which is why my family got cheated out of that 12 acres and the access to it because of the storage units. The biggest excuse or reason is that the DOT at the time, it was Rich Zocker, who said you can't put another approach in there. Now you're talking about possibly putting an approach onto 16-385 instead of Reno Gulch Road?
I believe there's an approach there already. It's not a matter of putting an approach there, it's already there.
Okay, but it's already a DOT approach?
Well, I'm going to let planning and zoning speak to that.
Yeah, and I would probably defer that honestly to the highway department and the engineer when they are here on the 21st. I think that would be during the hearing for the subdivision regulation variance where the owner and the engineer and our highway department can be present to answer all of those questions.
So,
Brittany,
yeah,
there's one thing I want to throw in too, and John, approach can be approved and may not in fact exist in its proper form to meet the DOT requirements either from the feds or the state. So there could be approach already applied there through the different, what would I say, design and permitting processes you're talking about. And that may not be properly developed to the codes that have to be for a true approach. So we don't want to forget that. You know what I mean. You've seen approaches to agricultural land that approach doesn't get moved later if it becomes commercial. It has to be developed to a commercial spec.
Correct, and I've actually put in approaches to meet DOT specs on South Dakota highways. That one certainly does not make it as it is right now.
But I'm sure that'll come up in the discussion. In other words, whoever's going to sign off on this, you've got a federal highway there, you've got state requirements, you've got county requirements. I don't think anybody's going to sign off until the thing is what meets it. That's,
Right, okay.
I would make an
Yeah.
assumption as that.
Yeah, okay, well,
Okay.
I'm here for a different purpose, but
Okay, sure.
anyway, I saw this come up, I didn't know it was coming up, I just had some questions about it, I guess. If it's going to be continued on to the next thing, and that's all you're gonna vote on is to continue it, then I got no qualms, I just
And I
was
do
curious.
believe a highway is going to be more involved in the
Right.
the future meeting.
DOT.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more discussion.
Yeah, DOT,
All
yeah,
right.
right. If they choose to go that route, instead of going the Reno Gulch route.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm wasting all of our time here, so
No, you're doing
I got the point. As long as it's gonna be continued, none of the other people that are involved with this are here, so, and I don't think they knew that on the agenda. I certainly didn't, but I'm a little behind and a little ahead, so I thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then one thing that you did say I was going to point out, just for the record, was was also, if there was a change in all this request, it again would have to come back through the approval process for the approach.
Correct, so if they don't want to build it to ordinance
Right.
14 standards by the highway, they would have to come in front of
Go
the
through
Board of
another.
Commissioners as an exception to ordinance 14, so that would be.
Just so that that's on the table too. In other words, there's nothing going to slide by if it doesn't go this way. If it's changed again, it's going to get reviewed.
And the applicant is aware of those approach
right.
requirements, so is the engineer. They have asked that once that property is developed at building permit, that is determined. And approach permits are required as part of our building permit process.
Okay. Any other questions for Brittany on this? Chair to address a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we continue COCA 25-009 to the October 27th meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded to continue per staff's recommendation, COCA 25-0009 to the October 27th meeting. Discussion from the audience. From the commission. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 16, which is the second half of the same one.
Correct. It's rezone CORZ 25-0010 for Shane Schreiner to rezone from agriculture district, suburban residential district, and highway service district to commercial district. And again, staff is recommending that this item be continued to the October 27th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
That'll be my motion, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve per staff's recommendations, CORZ 25-0010 to the October 27th, 2025 meeting of the Planning Commission. Discussion from the audience, from the commission. I have one. Page 2 and page 3 of 5, you used your old page from the old thing. It's item number 16. There's a clerical error on top, Jerry. If you look, at least on the printed one, it's item number 8 or something. It's not 8.
Yours was the only one that had it. All the others were fixed.
Oh, you picked on me, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, good.
She's just making sure you're paying attention.
Yep.
Well, you haven't caught me on anything yet today, see? So you did. You're still poking fun at the poor guy. Well, anyway, that's the only discussion I had. Any other discussion from the commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On to item number 17. And we wanted to do a little housekeeping on this, didn't we? At the start, before we get into this?
Yes, I
You
was
want
just
me
going
to do it,
to,
or you want to do it?
I was just going to read the item into the record, and then you can speak on how you
Go
want
right
to
ahead.
move forward. So item number 17 is ordinance amendment OA 25-16 for Pennington County to amend section 317 alternative energy, to amend and supersede the existing section 317 alternative energy of the Pennington County zoning ordinance.
All righty. Brittany and I spoke on this, and we do have a number of people in the audience that took the time to come to this meeting today, and I'm one that supports, I don't like to see it come back and forth 2 and 3 times, and it's tough enough to get these things scheduled per the state requirements on this. We hear, and you've already heard today, that people don't know things until the last minute, and that's because of the requirements of the publication as well as the mailings. And we follow state guidelines. So I made the comment that I believe we would best, before we address any part of the ordinance, have the people that came here and took the time to speak, get their testimony on to the record so that you don't have to come back again. We do read all letters. We've gotten some letters and comments on it, but we also pay attention to people that have come here before, and that's based on an assumption that we're probably not going to clear this yet today. There's enough people here. I doubt whether this might not go, but for a second time yet. Go ahead.
This was advertised for 2 meetings, so this meeting and the next Planning Commission meeting.
So I guessed right. All right, thank you. Anyway, anybody on the commission, and I always leave this so that you guys can comment if you don't think I'm heading the right direction trying to be the chair. Then that's the way we're going to do it. We have a number of requests, and I ask you to bear in mind, there is an emergency meeting required of the Board of Commissioners today, and spoke about it earlier, so we will have to recess from 10:15, I believe it is, to 10:45. And I would hope you would understand that, and any of you folks that do your phone calls or whatever, and stick around and give your testimony. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading these off, if that's all right with the commissioners. And if you have any item in the ordinance specifically that you want to address, John was the one that brought it up to me, we can flip to that and talk about it right at that time. And any commissioner that has a question for you will do the same when they ask you the question. So if you would stay up here after your comments so that we can have questions at that time. Everybody ready to go? Get out of here?
But,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do the speakers have a time limit?
We haven't done that except in special occasions, but I have done this. Try not to get into repetitive. I'm not a great one for time limits. If it gets to be a problem, we'll know probably after our break. Is that fair?
Just curious.
Way to look at it, if it's going to be a problem. But try not to go into repetitive comments and comments that you might have already done in writing. Get to the meat of the matter. First person that's on my list here is Jack Dye.
Thank you, Commissioners. I guess what I'm concerned about is land rights. John owns property that he wants to develop into solar farm. There's already one there right next to him. So I don't know enough about the LIs sort of late coming in. So that's what I'm looking at. So thank you.
Jack, when you say you're concerned about next door, density of it or the operations of one being along that close to the other?
Well, I just think if there's one already there, the guy should be able to put another one in next to it. What I feel,
You feel he should be able to, please?
yes.
If he meets the proper setup?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Jack?
Mr. Chair, is there one planned? Is there one on the drawing board for the one that's already been permitted?
I guess I don't understand your question. There's already a solar farm over there in
Right.
Newwood.
Is there another one that's on the drawing board?
I believe John is working on getting one.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yes.
I guess I wasn't aware that there was another one.
Yeah,
Plan.
neither was I.
Thought we're just talking about an ordinance.
Right. Thank you, Jack.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm on your list, but.
Yeah, I put you on the bottom, Jerry.
Yeah, I want to give a little background that might help everybody else that's going to come up and speak as to how we got
That's fine.
here.
The only reason I put you on the bottom is because of the emergency meeting that we're gonna have to take a break at, so. but
Right.
You probably weren't responsible for that, so.
The
Go
emergency
ahead.
meeting? No.
Go ahead.
All right. So Jerry Durr, Commissioner, and so you have a couple members sitting here, John and Matt, that were on this committee that brought this ordinance forward. And so the prefaces for the ordinance, and Commissioner Roskinek, I'll cover what, got brought up here a little bit. So we had, the solar plant go in out at New Underwood, and then, last year we had Yarrowtech that came in to wanted to put a hybrid solar plant that came in front of this board. And so out of that, the county commission last year put in a moratorium on any future developments after Yarrowtech had submitted their application. And so we wanted a chance to look at the ordinance that commission did, and it was prior to me coming on the board, but we had some of the same input last year when we came forward about our concerns about wind and solar plants going in an agricultural district. And I believe, it's not a secret that Yarrowtech did a pretty crappy job of presenting to the county, both in planning, both on planning commission and to the commission. But at that point in time, once a conditional use permit was approved, it only went to the planning commission based on our current ordinance and not to the board. So that's one of the things that the committee focused on, was changing that these now went to you. And like some of our other conditional use permits, then it goes to the Board of County Commissioners on a recommendation. So the committee was formed, and the committee was appointed by those people, some of in the room that were interested in this, obviously in opposition, some, and then some people that submitted to get on the committee that were representative of kind of the industry and people that had some knowledge about this. So I believe it started last April, the committee began to meet, and we met every 2 weeks. And so we had, in some months, more than one meeting to get through this ordinance. And what I want to say about the ordinance, to kind of lay some groundwork, is the fact that putting the ordinance forward, that was a mandate of this committee to come up with an ordinance to present, which you have in here today. So everybody that was on the committee had input and comments, and we weren't always in agreement, but that's what you have in front of you right now, is this ordinance. And so both somewhat information from an industry standard as to what's out there, and then some more restrictive from those that were in opposition to having wind and solar in an agricultural district. All of that is incorporated, so all this back and forth since April is what you have in front of you now that came out of this committee. It doesn't mean that it's a perfect ordinance, and I will say that the committee was, split. I was kind of asked, and I chaired it, and my job, I felt, as leading this committee was to get to a point that we could have an ordinance, not that I was driving everything in there. It was kind of listening and guiding this, because if given the sole responsibility of writing the ordinance, I could have done that. That was not the goal of this committee. And so it was input from Brittany and her team put a lot of time and effort. Brittany did a lot of research, getting kind of some of the industry standards and what's going on in other counties that are dealing with these, and then getting some industry input, and then the landowner input from those impacted. And so at the very beginning of the committee assignment and looking at an ordinance, I asked the question. I personally I'm in opposition to wind and solar in an agricultural district. And so I asked the question, we had some landowners, in the room, and it just came up about landowner rights. Do you want a complete moratorium on this? Well, there is, some landowner rights involved in that type of stuff. So that stuff was considered as well. And I think what you're going to hear from the majority of the landowners, many of whom live, I believe, out in, eastern Pennington County and in District 4, where primarily this stuff would go because of land mass, that they're going to be in opposition to this. And, but you have to start somewhere with an ordinance. And the good thing about this ordinance, it's quite restrictive, and it gets to a point where obviously the final say on this is going to be with the Board of County Commissioners. So in some of our meetings, we had landowners come in that were not part of the committee, but they're in the New Underwood area, and they're working with, developers and energy providers that put these in. And so just a couple miles west of where the current Wild Springs plant is, there is in the works people waiting for this moratorium to come off to initiate other projects that would come in. So there's a solar project on 2 properties that is waiting, and I believe in the audience, I'm not sure if he's going to speak, is one of the individuals that is working with the landowners on this project. And so the landowners were in there during our committee meetings, talking about, I have a project out here, I have land rights, you already have one down the road, I want to put this in. But this ordinance is about the ordinance and not about future projects. Those will come in. But, initially we were told that there wasn't going to be any financial viability to sell that energy, so there was not really going to be any projects in the wings. And, about a third of the way through our meetings, word carried out there. And so then we had, people that were looking to have future projects come in. And we listened to some of their input, and some of the comments are related that are in, this ordinance proposal. But, Matt and John.
Jerry, just a minute.
Yep.
I'd appreciate it if you don't have any conversations in the back of the room. Please have them outside. Thank you.
So anyway, Matt and John can speak to it a little bit further. And then it comes down to what I talked to last year. And so I want you to know with Brittany that, and it's not related currently to this ordinance, but I have asked our state's attorney's office about how restrictive we can be. And I do know that I will be presenting to the commission that in our conditional use process in our comprehensive plan and the ordinance are kind of tied together because in our comprehensive plan, it speaks to you can get a conditional use permit for these energy projects. And so anyway, there's some other things on the backside with our state's attorney's office that are in discussions, but those will come forward later. And so basically what you have is an ordinance that came out of the committee, not with 100% support, but that's where we're at.
Mr. Chair. So Jerry, the one that, I believe one was permitted, is that correct? Folks from Florida?
Yeah, Eurotech, correct.
So even though they got that far in the permitting process, aren't there a lot of other steps that they're going to have to take before they can even begin the process?
Correct, and they've not.
Out of the county's hands.
Right.
Just so that there's other mechanisms to protect the folks in that area.
Correct, and so when you give a conditional use permit, which you're quite familiar with, you put conditions on those, and so Eurotech had conditions, and to my knowledge, since that was approved, Brittany, they've not come back with anything on a work plan or anything on the Eurotech project.
No, they have not. It is up for review, I believe, at the next planning commission meeting.
All right.
We do a review every year. Conditional use permits have 2 years to be implemented. They have to make significant progress, so.
Okay, and the other change that happened since Eurotech submitted was the fact that they created a situation that we addressed and spoke to, and that was the fact that they were splitting a project. Wind, under 100, under that limit with the state to be regulated, and solar. And so, but the combined would have been, it was a hybrid project that they would have been regulated by the PUC. And so anyway, legislature changed this year to address that. And so they've addressed those split projects and hybrid. And so Eurotech, brought up a lot of concerns that are being addressed, one by this ordinance, and our legislature addressed some of it, which the PUC, I believe, would now regulate. And so this process, it's kind of where it's at, but it's not the ordinance is one step, but it's not the complete process as to how we're going to regulate these energy projects in the county. And I believe Brittany is going to bring forward, because we're going to the commission's going to have to extend our moratorium, because I believe our moratorium on these projects expires when?
I believe it was the end of November.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay.
correct? So
And we're going to have to extend it because we're not going to get through the planning process on this ordinance, and we're not going to get through the commission process on the ordinance. And so you have that on the commission agenda for when?
It's the next meeting.
Yeah, the
The
21st.
21st,
October 21st.
All right.
October 21st.
So the board will be looking at extending the moratorium so we can get through this process, because we do not want anybody to come in with an application and trip a process when we don't have an ordinance in place. So.
Okay, just two quick things here.
Yep.
One, and I'm going to advise our testimony people the same thing. We don't want to review Eurotech again through the commission. So certainly comments related to are fine, and they involve what we're doing here. But I'm not going to redo Eurotech either plus or minus, and comments are allowed. But I do have a serious question for you, and I've been concerned about, in regards, since you're a commissioner, you're a perfect person to address it to. When we look a lot at these ordinance right now, in fact, I had one of the attorneys for the commission one time say, I'll never let a citizen write an ordinance. And I couldn't believe such a comment. I wrote it on my book at the time. And what concerns me is I served on 3 of those committees 20 years ago. The septic, I served on the vacation home rental, and I served on the revision of the standards. Subdivision. We went through those things and brought in people for, against, engineers, and we did a lot of public work that took septic. Hell, it went on for 2 years. The vacation home rental went on a year and a half before we had anything written and brought to this. It's very difficult when I see these ordinances, and not as the chairman, as a voting member, should I be that, to sit here and all of a sudden I've got a stack of compare this to compare that. Versus what? Well, I haven't had any public comment to tell me the bad side that they're unhappy about or the good side. I haven't had any engineers tell me this won't work, but this will. Some of this just gets almost bizarre to look at something this controversial and, as you said, closely divided
Correct.
on a short notice. And these people have to watch and view when we publicize things, and we got 10-day notices for this and that. That can't be done that way. We need to do a longer processing of these things and put them in place so they work for the general public, and the general public includes people trying to make a profit. So it gets bothersome, and I feel that, but the commissioners are the folks that have got to address that, not me. I'm a volunteer, aren't I? And I could get kicked off of here just real easy too if I get out of line. So it's that way. And I can't stop this from happening, but it does trouble me sitting here asking our members to review that, and one of the members being Board of Commissioners, not the insult, but as a liaison.
Right. Yeah.
That's my comment, and I don't see that in this committee. I don't see the public input.
In the committee?
Yeah, other than the members. And I'm not going to discount the members. The two members that you noted here, they're excellent folks, whether they're for or against something.
Yeah.
That's
So-
their right.
Yeah, and my comment related to that will be that there were people that came in because it was publicly announced, so the meetings weren't private.
No, I
So the-
understand that.
Yeah, the public was, and we had people, stop in that, were experts or had an opinion on one side or the other, and they stopped in. Maybe they came in for, one or two meetings, but I do believe the committee as it was put together, I mean, there were some people that didn't get selected, and they said you only selected the people in opposition, and that's not true. And so we had a good cross-section, and, I mean, we had people that would show up, a meeting here, a meeting there, that came from the public, sat down, asked questions, had input. But again, it's very difficult to have that public input. This is what you have now. So
We
this is
did-
this is why we have a process, and I will talk about, I'll end this with, I just talked to Brittany about an ordinance that I have a concern about that I wasn't familiar with, that's in your district, that it's an issue. It's usually yours or mine. Anyway, Brittany called it the chicken ordinance, and it came up with people that were complaining about, chickens running around and crapping on somebody's deck. And then, through that committee, and, they put together an ordinance that I look at and I go, none of this makes any sense to me. So I go, how did we get this?
Can I go just back up? Two of the three that I know of, and I think all three did, we actually had the county spend money and publicize meetings that we did at different times of the days and allowed the public to come in. They didn't have to worry about watching what legal
Right.
announcements and that sort of thing. And we learned a lot on both of them, for and against, on those sort of things. Why is it because of the internet and all the things that we got to do fast? Why are we in such a hurry to put these things together, either for the people that want to do them or the people that don't want them? To me, the importance is getting it done right for what the taxpayers, the property owners, and the voters want in Pennington County, and that takes some time to review all that. And if those things have happened, and the commissions have that information when they get to it, both the Board of Commissioners and the planning, that's a little easier to deal with.
Right. And I'm going to follow up by saying, everybody on the committee, did a great job. I'm going to tell you that everybody did their homework. And so everybody went out and researched and were given homework assignments, and they came back and they said, this is what I found. Would you look that up, Matt? And we had Matt Hasvald as well that gave us some good insight. So both sides of the house went out with homework assignments and brought it back. We could have written an ordinance that would have banned all of this stuff, and we could have done it in one meeting. But we didn't. This was meeting 2 to 3 times a month since April, and we just got done, 2 weeks ago? So anyway, but this is what you have in front of you, and this is the background. And yes, it is a process. And to be frank, I don't think anybody is in a hurry to rush the ordinance through a process. Because again, when it gets to the commission, when the Board of Commissioners gets to see it, it's also going to, have another set of eyes on it and another process. So that is why we have to extend the moratorium on this, because we want this to have the public purview.
I will say, and I don't mean to disparage any of your board members or your committee members, I know them, but even if you were to hand me homework, I'm still doing it through my eyes, my thoughts. You sway things. I've served on stuff for 40 years, and I see it from this viewpoint, but when I see other people that come with the same set of thoughts, that try to be open and look at things so that it goes on, how to deal, how to get something done, I've seen again and again that I've learned from those folks when they opposed the seat that I was sitting in. I've learned a lot from them. And that's all I'm saying, is that the public is still the public. It can go on longer than you want. You can scratch your head. You can go through a lot of things. You're there. And I'm not trying to extend this. But I do think that we count on having them put before us, and we vote for it, and you vote for it. None of your Board of Commissioners, other than yourself, sat on it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. It's just a point. Then, in other words, you've got 4 people that had to track it on their own, too, and see what's in front of them.
And, I mean, to be frank, when it was completed, I mean, Brittany had the stuff on the website, but yeah, it's a process. But it's a process, and we're here, how we got here, but you have it in front of you, and it's ready to be picked apart.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, is it more?
So the ordinance, if I'm looking at it right, is about a 54-page document. So when we hear the testimony today, I hope we can go to certain areas of that document that folks don't like, or they do like, or think.
Oppose or support.
Right, so that we can really dial into what the problems are. And like you said, don't be repetitive, because we only have so much time to get through all this. So I'd like to focus on certain parts of that ordinance, and there's 54 pages that we have to look at.
Okay. And we're still on that, but it's going to have to come from the people that I've allowed to testify. Thank you, Jerry. Betty Kineski? Please come up and introduce yourself, just for the record. We have people that just are hearing it, don't get to see us, so they got to know who it is. And then you may speak as you see fit.
I'm Betty Kineski, and I'm from Farmingdale, and I'm on here on behalf of my grandson Seth, too. We're concerned about the ordinance not being strong enough. As adjoining landowners to these projects, we should have some rights, too. And we're concerned about how they're going to get to transmission lines. And it's an agriculture thing. We can't destroy all our agricultural land. Our rates for our West River Electric are going up the first of the year because they've put too much money into transmission lines and not done anything for reliable energy. And I've been here before, and I'm opposed to, especially the solar power. I'm going to be in line for the noise and stuff where I live. And I think we should have some rights as landowners so that it is agricultural land. We need to keep it agricultural land as much as we can. Thank you.
Okay, questions for you, Betty?
Yes.
Everyone, we do have an opportunity to ask questions. Any questions from the commission? I have one. You're talking about pasture land and lines. This new ordinance does address a considerable amount of the lines do go underground that weren't necessarily noted before in the previous ordinance. I will say that. Do most of you folks, as you come up, think about whether you have had a copy of either the existing ordinance or the other ordinance, and whether you want one, please let us know what's being proposed. We'll get it furnished to you somehow. Jerry and Brittany do a pretty good job of getting back on that. So if you would like to see what's being proposed, you can have.
My sister's been on the committee, so
Okay.
I'm aware.
Thank you, Betty. Any other questions for Betty? Thank you. Aline Peterson. And I have to say this every time, you still have to introduce yourself for the record, and you can go on from there. If I don't, sure as the devil, we'll forget it. Everybody out there wants you to know who Aline is. Thank
Eileen
you.
Peterson, and I was on the task force. And I personally am disappointed in what we accomplished or did not accomplish. The task force was created primarily from the concerns of landowners in eastern Pennington County, and they expected to see some pretty strong support for the adjacent landowners. And I know there's things in here for setbacks, but I don't think any of them are adequate. And I've gone into a gazillion reasons here. I have, as usual, 8 pages. But I did not go through and mark which parts of the ordinance that I was specifically complaining about. And I can do that for the next meeting. I can
Okay.
come back and do this.
No problem. I'd have a question on the setbacks. Is it the tower plates? What setbacks is it to
Both.
help me?
Towers and solar panels both. At the current time, the solar panels only have a total of a 50-foot setback. The last project that was approved, that we won't name because we're not talking about them, had a 100-foot setback. And that's what was approved, a 100-foot setback. At one point during our negotiations, we had, in the task force, we had a 100-foot in there. And then it was taken out because it wasn't critical that it be 100 feet. The fire people said 50-foot was enough, but I think we need to look at more than just the needs of what the fire people want.
Okay, now, do you have a copy from what was submitted? Okay.
I saw
On the
it
one that
every
I
issue.
read, only the 50-foot applied to the, like the individual, the small producer that's going to
No.
produce on his own land. The other setbacks were considerably longer.
Utility scale setbacks for solar are 50 feet.
Am I wrong?
Correct, and the distributed solar, which is the individual ones, is the zoning setback. And the longest zoning setback we have is 25 feet. And the current requirement is the zoning setback, so the current requirement is 25 feet.
And the new
Is 50.
one has an additional 25-foot buffer,
Correct,
correct?
for the, it was a buffer for fire protection it required.
Like a railroad. Does the same way. We have 25, and there's an additional 25 that they get for being a railroad, which they had for 100 years.
Right, so originally it was just a zoning setback, now it's
Sure.
50 feet.
Sure.
So
Oh, I see what you're saying. Not any tower fall, not any of the building type of things. Okay.
total, just a
Understood.
setback from the adjacent property
I
lines.
misunderstood you. Thank you.
And what's currently in the ordinance for the wind towers, I think, is 1.5 the tower heights. Now, if you've watched any videos of towers falling over or blades coming loose, 1.5 may not be adequate for that, but those blades disintegrate when they hit the ground, and that's fiberglass. That blows around, and there can surface soil contamination can go a whole lot farther than 1.5 the distance. And there are counties just over the border in Nebraska. There are 3 counties that have a 1-mile setback. There are 2 counties that have a 2-mile setback, and 3 counties that have 3-mile setbacks, and 1 county has a 5-mile setback. So it's not unheard of. It's not, we wouldn't be the first ones to ever propose something more than 1.5. A lot of counties in the eastern part of the country require 5 times the tower height for the setback. So I don't think from the adjacent landowners' rights that 1.5 is enough, because if your property gets contaminated with fiberglass, you've got big problems, whether it's livestock or it's crops.
Okay, so I understand you, when the blade type of thing you're talking about, if it comes off, it does a walking situation. It
It
comes to
can.
the ground as it disintegrates.
Even if it falls close to the turbine, it's gonna start, the edges will start to disintegrate, and that stuff
From inertia,
blows
it's
in,
gonna
and we do have wind, because
Okay.
that's what the wind tower's for, so I think your time is up.
All right. That's what you're trying to get my attention for. Thank you. You can certainly come back up again after the recess if you like
Okay,
and finish.
thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. All right. I'm going to call a recess effective now till 10:45. We'll try to get it as close to that as possible, but I can't control what they're going to do for their meeting. But we do have to remove ourselves.
I need a second.
Oh, do we need a motion? Not for recess. I can call it recess. All right.
Nope.
All right, everybody understand I'm calling a recess, so I'm the one to blame.
We have to haul everything with us.
All right. Better adjourn, but we're going to go ahead and kick
We've got to leave.
the tires and get them rolling again.
Oh, I suppose I can.
Now we have. I already turned in. Ellie? Is it Elaine or Ellie? I can't. I already turned in your. Eileen, all right. Eileen, okay. That's why you were trying to give me a hint, weren't you?
Yes.
And I know that you come well prepared. I was sure you had 8 or 9 pages, so. You and I have
do.
talked before.
But as I said before, I'm just gonna hit a couple more points I wanna make today, then I'll take
All
this
right.
home
Go right ahead.
and address the parts of the ordinance they apply to, and then I'll email them to you. So you can all read them before. the
Just
next-
to review, basically, you've said, one, that you oppose the existing as well as the one that's being proposed to run through right now. Is that correct? And then secondly, it's for some reasons that you're putting on the table. And that you're going to also put on the table when we begin to review them. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, one other point, this never came up in the task force, other than when we were visiting another site, but for the solar arrays, I think if there are more than a mile of continuous solar panels, there needs to be wildlife corridors provided. We saw that down in Fall River County, where there's a section of land, I don't know how wide it was, but it's not fenced and it's not disturbed for wildlife to move through the project area unimpeded. And I think we need to add that to this ordinance. Some issues on decommissioning, which I don't think is addressed in here, that we need to be very, very sure that the county and the landowners are not going to be held responsible for the decommissioning if the developer does not do it. Particularly the county. There's a bond that has to be posted or some other financial agreement, but we need to be very, very sure that it's adequate. Because like a lot of other decommissioning projects, if it's more financially favorable for the company to walk away and just lose the bond, they will do that. So we need to make sure the bond will protect the county. I think that's probably all I need to hit right now, but I also looked at the comprehensive plan. And even in there, it says they need to be concerned about agricultural lands being fragmented and allowing, particularly a lot of solar panels in it, can be nothing but fragmented. So for today,
Thank you. Questions for Eileen? Thank you very much for being tolerant, especially about the recess. I don't know, we're going to probably get another one, just a short one, hopefully. Politicians can get wordy, right?
that's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one I have on the, is it's Lindsay Mader. Please introduce yourself for the record. You've heard me say that before.
I
Go
have.
from there.
We meet again. Good morning, Planning Commission. My name is Lindsay Mader. To begin, I'd like to note that I was appointed to the Alternative Energy Task Force earlier this year. I participated in every meeting and contributed to the development of the proposed ordinance. To clarify, there was a comment that the new ordinance is 54 pages long. I think it's only 17, just to make that on record. Throughout that process, I made it a point to keep an open mind and reserve my final judgment till the end. However, as it turns out, it is worse than I thought it was. I want to be clear that I do not personally endorse every aspect of the ordinance as it stands, but I do endorse some of it.
Overall, is what you're saying, because I did ask everybody to at least announce whether they opposed or
Yeah, so there's
support
some
it.
things in it, like I think that the final say should be with the county commissioners, not with the planning commission.
Okay.
I do think that the setbacks need to be higher, basically what Eileen said. I'm not gonna go through all that stuff
Some
again.
individual tweaking. Okay.
Yep.
Understood, Lindsay. Thank you.
My main concern of, the whole overall thing today is agriculture. So I'm gonna speak for the land, for the grasslands, the wildlife, and the generations who depend on them. Across the region, utility-scale wind and solar farms are spread across prime agricultural land and native prairie. These projects are often promoted as green energy, and the reality on the ground tells a different story. When we replace living grasslands with industrial energy sites, we're not protecting nature, we're paving over it. Our grasslands are among the most endangered ecosystem in North America. Less than half of our native prairie remains, and every acre lost means less habitat for pollinators, migratory birds, and countless other species that depend on open grass for survival. Once that native sod is broken, it will never truly recover. Solar panels and wind towers may stand for 20 to 30 years, but the soil and wildlife beneath them will take centuries to heal, if ever. Large-scale construction breaks up habitat. Roads, transmission lines, and gravel pads carve through what used to be continuous grassland. Prairie chickens, burrowing owls, and swift foxes avoid these disturbed areas, leading to population declines that can't easily be reversed. Even the low hum of turbines and the glare from solar fields can disrupt breeding and migration patterns. We must also think about what we lose culturally. These open spaces are a part of our heritage. They support ranching, tourism, which are two of our biggest industries in South Dakota, and hunting, and a way of life built around stewardship, not exploitation. When out-of-state developers lease large tracts of land for industrial projects, we trade local control for corporate gain, and conservation becomes the casualty. Renewable energy has its place, but it's not at the expense of irreplaceable ecosystems. There are better options such as rooftop solar and sitting renewables on already industrialized land. Let's ensure our county's policies protect what makes this place unique. It's agriculture, open spaces, it's wildlife, and the natural balance that sustains us all.
Okay.
That's what I have.
Questions for Lindsay? And then if you just wanted, certainly you indicated that you had a few other items that you were going to be talking about as this moves forward.
Yep.
Okay.
That'll be at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next one I have is Denny Selting? Please introduce yourself just for the record, Denny, and go from there.
Good morning and thank you. Denny Selting, I'm a landowner, I'm a veteran, and I'm for solar, and for numerous reasons. And I think growth is good. At our place, we've had a lot of helicopters going over back and forth to their working ground. And there was a lot of controversy over it. People, I don't want to have them flying over me. I don't want the noise. I don't want this. I don't want that. But you know, in growth, all of us got to give up a little bit to get growth, to get where we need to be. And I just think with the solar, I think that you've got to have controls. I think you all got to do that. I get that. But I also think as a landowner, you can't say, well, it's good for him, but it ain't good for this one. That I struggle with. I think that's something that you got to weigh pretty heavy. But I am for it, and I appreciate you looking at it the way it is and looking for out the people that put you in here. Thank you.
Questions for Denny?
Have you had time to look at this ordinance?
I've looked at it, yes, sir. I haven't studied it, no.
Okay, I just wondered if you were comfortable with it.
There's parts that I question.
Okay, well,
Is that fair?
I do too.
Okay.
All right, I'm just curious. Okay, that.
All right,
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Denny, can I still, I was thinking how I could word this. I basically asked whether you opposed or didn't, and you said support the solar. What I did write down was that owners' rights and land use issues are also a part of this that has to be considered in the drafting of the rules. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that I understood that,
Yes,
because I did ask that everybody
Yes.
kind of give us a direction on that.
Yeah,
Thank you. Next one I've got is Jerry Meter. Good morning, Jerry. Just state your name for the record and go from there.
Good morning, Planning Commission. My name is Jerry Mader from New Underwood, South Dakota, and I'm a rancher, landowner, and live close to about 15 miles from New Underwood, but we do conduct quite a bit of business, and our grandkids go to school in New Underwood, so we go there quite a bit. But I guess these solar panels, to me, are not a very welcome sight, and I don't think they're very productive. I've got a few things written down here I'll just read to you. I'm not opposed to any private energy. If you want to put a solar panel or whatever on your house or anything like that, that's fine. But utility scale is what I'm going to be referring to. I got quite a few reasons. We live in a very beautiful area enjoyed by many tourists, so tourism would be a big part of it. And I feel that these facilities are an eyesore to the tourist industry. I don't like the idea of these areas or these facilities covering up agricultural areas either and taking that land out of production. But I'm a landowner and land lover, I guess you could say. The only green part of the real green energy to me is the money that goes to 2 or 3 different individuals that can really benefit hugely financially. And the rest of us just have to tolerate it. I know the utility scale solar farm in New Underwood is supposed to donate money to the school, and they did recently, but it has a lot of strings attached to it, restrictions of what they can spend that money on. And it doesn't seem like it's very much money. It was about $25,000. So it seems relatively small compared to what that can generate. And I guess probably the biggest concern I have is the decommissioning part of it. As Eileen pointed out, when the fiberglass blades hit the ground and shatter and then get up in the wind and carry those fiberglass shards out into surrounding areas and contaminating the soil and the plant life and the wildlife. And I know there's supposed to be the decommissioning clause, and they're supposed to be bonded to take care of that. And the one that we're familiar with out our area that is proposed and not built yet, it didn't seem to me like there was near enough money set aside to clean that up for hazardous waste. And so I guess there's a lot of concerns about that for me. Yeah, I guess that pretty well covers. There's a lot of things that go with the vibration, the noise too, that come out on the solar, where I can't remember what they call the inverters, I think they call them, or something inside there, and they vibrate quite a bit, give off quite a bit of heat. And then the reflection, the glint and the glare, and I guess also the shadow flicker from the wind tower, the blades turning. So there's quite a few concerns, and a lot of the people that want to put these in don't live right there, so they're not affected by it. The one out by us, they were wanting to put in, they live in Florida. The people that own the land live in Florida. The people want to put it in live in Florida. And they put that out here for us to have to deal with, and they collect big checks back in Florida. Or they live in Rapid City, or they don't necessarily live in New Underwood. So it's easy to put something that you don't like in somebody else's area. And I feel like that's what they're doing, putting it in our backyard. So I think that's all I have for today.
Questions for Jerry today?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Next one I got to put my glasses on. Cecilia Steen?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am Cecilia Steen. I live in scenic South Dakota on the breathtaking edge of the Badlands, the beautiful Badlands. And I'm close to one of the proposed sites. And I guess I just got the amendments now, so I need to go back home and study these. But my biggest concern is our ranch has been in business for 100 years, and we are just getting ready for our fourth generation to take over. And diligently, we have to work on seeing that this ranch is going to be able to continue on because of all the things that we're facing today, that's challenges. And I'm concerned with this because when you have something like this that can affect the water, the animals like they've been talking about, and they've previously all talked about that today. But I'm concerned about what this can cause grief to the ranchers in the area that are trying to continue their business going forward and to feed America. I will go ahead and study this. I will be back at the next meeting. But I am very concerned about the next generation of ranchers and for our ranch to go forward. And I see that there's just so much opportunity for causing grief. I believe in property rights. I respect property rights. But that, again, has to be on both sides. And I'm very concerned, like I said, with the water, with the watersheds, if the hail damages these units. We've talked about how the propellers have, I think one in Wyoming just the other day broke loose and how far it flew. Those shards, if cattle eat any of that, we lose the cattle. And that's our livelihood. So how do you contain property rights to people's property if it actually doesn't stay right at that property and goes outside of those boundaries? So you guys have a hard job.
Questions for Cecilia? I have one. Then, in other words, right now, you're in a position where you have some opposition to the structure of it as it exists. You haven't really had, you haven't had a chance to go through to see how specific that opposition is.
Correct, because this was just handed to me outside just a few minutes ago. So I
Yes,
need to go through
understood.
this and make sure that nothing has changed.
I think that's a great idea. That's one of the ones I was talking about before you got up here.
Correct. And yeah, how can you talk on something if you haven't had time to study it?
Any other questions for Cecilia? Thank you.
Thank you.
Dale Harris.
Howdy. Thanks everyone for their time today. My name is Dale Harris. I'm here as a representative of Infinity Global. We are working on potentially developing a utility scale solar and battery project. And I get the concerns of a lot of people here in this room. And in our industry, they consider developing a project like getting a master's degree. There are a lot of different variables for each project, and I think each one should be considered holistically. You need to look at the ownership of those projects. I'm a blue-blooded American, and I believe that we should have American energy independence. I think they should be American companies owning the energy. I think we should look at the environmental impact on each project. I think that there's a lot of good proposed regulations in here. One of the most valuable ones is the fact that the Board of County Commissioners has the ability to vote on these projects. And it is not just purely meeting the specific regulations in here, but it is making sure that everything has been addressed. And there are additional conditions that can be applied to each one of these projects to make sure that the concerns of the community have been mitigated. And I also think that there should be a separate look at wind and solar. We get lumped together very regularly, and they are two very different beasts. I'm here to support the solar portions of the regulations and the battery portions, not the wind portions. I think you have to address them differently. And I think that, again, I overall do support the proposed ordinances, and I think that there are reasonable regulations that are in these ordinances. But on a per-project basis, there can be additional conditions that are applied with how these regulations are now set up. And waiting and just postponing them forever prevents projects from ever coming into the community that are going to reasonably work with the community and reasonably meet the requirements. That is most of what I had to say.
All right, questions for Dale? I've got one. It came to me while I was reading both ends of it last night, and you're perfect because you put these things together or propose them in front of people. We're just talking about even blinking lights, meeting the FAA approval, which is certainly out of our hands, out of the commissioner's hands, and well out of your hands. You have a guideline of the blinking lights and the decibels and everything else. I used to say if you're going to end up with a tower, and Brittany can confirm this, it's 300 feet in an area, you better buy new drapes for everybody that lives in the area, because I guarantee you that thing will strobe you to death. But the FAA requires that person to put it there. So do we stop the tower, or we do wait till the federal government switches the lights? Do you have difficulty meeting those sort of site-specific type of things when they're out of the control of the hands of the people that are setting it up, yourself and the people?
Well, the requirements you're referring to are for wind.
Yeah.
And which is why I would like the ordinances to be separated. I'm not here to support wind. Our company does not develop any wind energy in the United States.
Okay. All right.
There is in
Well,
general.
then how about your 25-foot panels that they can't extend above 25 feet in the new one?
So none of our panels, the max height is
That
going
was
to be
my
about
next
10
one that
feet.
bothered me. I don't know where that fits with your site-specific.
So on all of the projects that we develop, the max height for the panels, which would be whenever it's at max tilt, is going to be
Correct.
approximately 10 feet.
All right.
The tallest portion of the project is going to be where it connects to the transmission line, and it's going to be the height of the transmission line, just at the substation / interconnection point, the point of interconnection.
You're familiar with the industry. Is there anybody going to have difficulty meeting the 25 feet that you know of? I'm not going to hold you to it.
So the 25 feet, I'm not sure which.
At full tilt, we have it in the ordinance that it cannot exceed 25 feet.
Oh, not a problem at all. From
That
ground
was
height.
one thing. I mean, I read it and I said, where does this come from? What, in relationship, what does it mean? And you'd have a better idea. So the 25 feet in your mind is not an issue at this time.
Correct. Now, everything has to be reviewed on a per case
Yeah.
basis, and if you're looking at carports, for example,
Yeah.
on a commercial building, they might have their panels 25 feet in the air to be able to allow for
That has a
carports.
different guideline. So I was just talking about the ones in the utility based.
Sometimes those carports can be considered utility scale,
okay.
depending on the requirement or the
That's the
size of the
incorrect.
project. We, though, are not going to have any panels that are above 10 feet.
All right. Any other questions? Lori?
Mr. Chair, could you repeat the name of the company that you work for?
Infinity Global, and it's
Okay.
Infinity with an E.
Okay. And what other states have you done solar projects? Like all over the United States, or?
A good portion of the United States. So we have operational assets in California and New Jersey, and then we are starting construction on projects in Texas, Alabama, and we've got projects in different stages of development, all throughout Texas, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, Oregon, North
you-
and South Dakota. Yeah.
Do you do projects in other countries or just the United States?
Our company does.
Okay.
Yes. So
Right.
we're a US-based company, unfortunately based out of Miami, Florida. I've heard there's some comments against Florida. It's just a financial district. We've got an office in Dallas, Texas, that I am based out of. But the company as a whole has operations in Japan, Italy, a few other parts of Europe, and then in India.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Dale? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for your time.
Next person we have is Brett Robertson.
Morning, Commissioners, Chair, and Brett Robertson. I'm here to support this that's going on. Just like a few others, I obviously have a little more studying to do. I am a resident just to the west, about half a mile from where this is proposed to be put at. As a homeowner there, I have a very small portion of ground, but I don't see any reason with it. While I was sitting there, I actually had turned my phone on for decibels, and with some people speaking in here, the decibels of the voices in this building or in this room were actually higher than what those solars put out. So I did just put that out. To bring up about the points of livestock or, animals, deer and that. Like I said, I live just to the west of this. I live obviously a couple miles west of the one that is currently out in New Underwood. I drive that route every day to go into town, whether to get groceries, gas. I see multiple wild animals right around there. Doesn't seem to affect those. On this landowner rights kind of deal as well, and I know this has nothing to do with this, but I'm using it as a reference. I'm an avid hunter. It's kind of like the state. I just sat on a commission meeting with Game Fish and Parks for landowners. There's a gentleman that was in here that already spoke that owns thousands of acres, loses cows to mountain lions, correct? Well, I don't get how a state can regulate what somebody can do on their own ground. They tell me that I cannot go out and run hounds on this gentleman's land to tree a mountain lion to kill it, that is killing his livestock, which is his livelihood. So I think landowners should obviously have that right. Yes, I believe there should be certain stipulations, regulations, right? Like the roads, distance for fire, stuff like that. And then to bring up the topic about tourism. Yes, we are a huge tourism area, but with this being based off the highway, most of our tourism comes in federal or state. There is obviously some private. You get down into Hill City, you have the helicopter tours, right? That's tourism, but that's privately owned. That's what they chose to do. The Badlands, Custer State Park, Wind Cave, all that is either state or federal owned. So that is the tourism spot. That's not taking away from the landowners of tourism coming out here. Landowners don't benefit from tourism. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person I have is John Peck.
Good morning, everybody. John Peck, farm in New Underwood, South Dakota. I sat in on a few of the meetings of this when I had found out that they were going to be having these to make rules and regulations, because the way I understood that there was, when the other solar farm came in, there was no rules or regulations. Heard a lot of bad horror stories, so I thought I should go. I am working with Infinity Global to put a solar farm in. So yeah, I am for the solar, against the wind as well. I understand that there was a solar farm going south of New Underwood on the Mater's place, and I had called when I started going to this and had asked Lindsay, what were your concerns? What's going on? I would like to be filled in on a lot of this too. And I seen a lot of their concerns. I really did. There was, in the company, the guy is out of Florida, which I heard that's not good either. But they're trying to put a solar farm in there, and it could be wrong. They were going to have some wind too. I wasn't sure on that. But they had no transmission lines on the place. They were going to try to take power that they produced on this place and run it through other people's properties to get to a transformer line, which I can understand why they were concerned about that. I'd be concerned if, somebody just wanted to come trenching through my property. I wouldn't like that. So I do get their concerns for this. But what I do want to say is, for landowner rights, I believe we should have the right to do with what, we pay a lot of money to be out here. We farm. I've been through, I don't know how many droughts. There's no assistance for me. And we do look for ways of revenue and how to make money, and this is one of those. Will I stop farming if this goes through? No, but it's my right to do with my land of what I want. So as I sat in this meeting, and which I thought through the last 5.5 months, I really thought we narrowed this down and worked as a group. Not all of us agreed of, God, if they decommission this wind tower, do they chisel out 10 feet of concrete or do they go 15 feet of concrete? But I am on board for wildlife, and when they decommission this, of how should it turn out? How can we get it back to, do we put 12 inches of topsoil on it to make it what it should be for wildflowers growing and alfalfa and grass and whatever else is there? I agree with that part of it. Where I think we kind of fell apart a little bit is, as a group, we dialed this in and made it, I thought was kind of getting sophisticated, really. We're talking about putting shrubbery borders around the whole facility. The thing's 10 foot off the ground, and we're talking about planting trees around this thing, doing everything we can so that this gentleman here lives, a quarter mile from my place, and we're talking about putting trees in, so when he looks out his window, he's looking at a nice border of trees around the facility. As you're driving down, and I live on, my place is on 229th Street. Minus that there is construction on 1416 right now, and the bridge is out, and you got to drive to New Underwood. I guess on an average day of haying, and when I say an average day of haying, I put up a substantial amount of hay. So we may start at 4 in the morning, we may quit at midnight, 2 in the morning, but throughout that whole day, I'm going to guess as we're driving back and forth a mile this way and a mile this way, I can probably count on my hand maybe 10 vehicles a day. So I'm not sure who that affects, and we're not trying to put something in a state park. We're not trying to take away from the Badlands. If you were driving down interstate and you look at the New Underwood one, it looks like a lake. But all the tourists aren't driving down 229th Street because, boy, there's an alfalfa field over there. I'd like to see what an alfalfa field looks like. You can get that driving down interstate. I'm here to just argue the fact of landowners' rights and how much power this would produce for people. I guess that's where I'm at, is I sat in there and listened, and I really thought we had this dialed in for the better of the community, not just myself, but everybody else. And that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Frederick.
Good morning, still. My name is Elizabeth Frederick. I'm here in support of the solar farms. I sat in on many of these meetings, as many as I could. I'm actually John Peck's girlfriend, and when he says that on a normal day of haying, he might count 10 cars driving on 229th, I say that's exaggerating. I spent many days haying with him in that field. I'd be lucky if we counted 5, and multitudes of those times with the sheriff driving back and forth to say hi to us, the sheriff in New Underwood there. So there's not a lot of traffic on that gravel road. He entered into a contract with the solar company, Infinity Global, prior to the moratorium going into effect, and he is a landowner. And we thought that was his right to do. And then the moratorium goes into effect. And we understand there's a very delicate balance of property rights amongst everybody, his property rights and everybody else. And hence why we had this, apparently it was a special committee to figure out what would be good for everybody. And we met for months looking at zonings that were not in place before. And part of that was that these solar farms can't pop up just anywhere. They have to be they have to be confined to a certain zoning area. Part of those areas are agricultural areas, and that had to be so big in acreage, as well as having a transmission line, I think that's what we call them, where the power is already there on that property. So in doing all these regulations and restrictions, while some of them are harsher than we would like to see, and some of them are probably not as harsh as the people in opposition would like to see, we work towards the common good of what can we all live with and what actually is a nice delicate balance between the property rights of those who own the property that are in favor of the solar farms and those that are in opposition. And when we talk about agricultural, these farms aren't just popping up in all agricultural lands. Like I said, they have to appear in areas where, as the zoning restrictions require, have so much acreage, but also have the power supply to support these solar farms, in which Mr. Peck's land does have the power supply right on his property. He has these big transmission lines right on his property. In addition, we talk about preservation of the grasslands, the wildlife, but we don't see those same arguments coming up as all around us as we grow, as Rapid City and all the expanding areas around us grow, and all this farmland is turning into housing developments. Those same arguments don't pop up there. You don't see that opposition that we're seeing right here today. And I get that there's a lot of people, there's a group of people from New Underwood that are opposed. There's also a group that are in favor. But this is Pennington County and not just New Underwood. And so I have looked at those regulations, and while I think some of them are probably more restrictive than they need to be, I believe that between everybody and working together to formulate the plan that does address that delicate balance of property rights, this is what they came up with. So, and once again, as Mr. Harris spoke, everything comes up as I believe should be holistically approached on an individual basis. So you still have to apply for the CUP. It still has to be addressed by the Planning Commission as well as the Board of Commissioners. So it's not a rubber stamp on everything. It still has to be presented. But there's my piece on solar farms. And again, when you see somebody for years struggle with drought and just the difficulty of getting water to their place, planting, and finances, and having no support, and then something finally falls into their lap to do something with their land that would actually generate income, yeah, I think the majority of people in this room would maybe bite at that chance to generate a really solid income on your property if the opportunity presented. So it doesn't, it's not just I'm a selfish person and I want this just for myself. It's, I think when people address it, it's just, this is my property and, how can I generate an income to support myself and my family? So thank you so much for your time today. I hope you take a look at these and understand that we addressed it as a whole committee.
One question I have, you indicated that you'd reviewed the proposed ordinance. Did you review the one that's under moratorium right now too, as well?
I did not, and
Okay.
I apologize for that. I actually didn't even realize there was a special committee on it until another landowner who's a proponent of solar farms contacted John Peck and I, and then we started appearing at these meetings. The only ordinance I saw is in comparison, has we made changes, and then we...
Were individual things that they made changes?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
I
and has
understand.
we presented them on the board.
All right. Any other questions for Elizabeth? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on it? We don't want to let it, yes, ma'am. Come on forward and please state your name and We try not to miss anybody.
I'm Veronica Edoff, and I own property in
Can
Pennington.
you give me that name again?
Veronica Edoff. We own property in Pennington and Custer County. And anyway, I have just a couple things to just bring out. They were talking about the wind, if this ordinance is gonna take care of the wind too. I've read articles where those wind turbines, even when they're still in working order, that fiberglass will contaminate fields of hay. People that sell hay as a business, they couldn't sell it as they're certified or whatever because it's been contaminated with fiberglass from those propellers. So and they're 2-3 miles away, so that's something to be thinking about. And then, you guys, in one of your conditional use permits just today, you're asking someone to put up panels along the fence so the neighbors don't see it well, when we're talking about agricultural land right now, and every inch of that ground, whether you own 10 acres, 1,000 or more, every inch of that land is my home that I own, or the neighbors to these farms that want to go up, and they're not actually farms. I shouldn't even say farms because I don't consider these. But every inch of that ground is their home. And they aren't getting some fence or some blockade, so they don't have to see it. And then on top of that, I don't know how you deal with the sound, because I have heard those in New Underwood now create a noise or a hum, and the neighbors hear this, and it's a constant. It's not something that's just there and I can get up and leave the room and not hear that anymore if you are a neighbor to one of those facilities that have solar or wind on them. So I want you to really think about the surrounding neighbors, and I'm all for property rights because we do own a large amount of property. But the neighbors, I think you need to be a little bit considerate to them, especially when you're asking somebody in a smaller area to put up barriers. And these other ranchers don't have that. Whether they have their home right against it or not, the setbacks need to be as large as you possibly can. And then I also just caught something when the Infinity Global was up here. He said he's a US-based company. Does that mean they're owned by a US company, or are they foreign-owned but they're based in the United States? I'd just like to know that.
Okay, just a second. Any questions for Veronica? I had one, when you're talking about neighbors' rights, does that mean the neighbors that abut, neighbors that go out? We see that all the time in the property when you're talking about neighbors' rights to one of these. Are you talking about those that are just abut the property that's involved, or does it go out farther? I just wanted to get your direction on what you're thinking.
Well, I don't want to see it or hear it, and I know that if the wind farm one went up, I'm several miles away and I would see it. And I may be able to hear it because we're several miles away from Highway 44 and I still hear traffic on that. And
What about on the eyesore sort of thing? I'm not trying to pin you down, I'm just trying to make sure I write down what your testimony reflects.
Because the land means a lot to me. And they keep encroaching on the agricultural land.
Okay.
And all for the tax dollars that they will save. But the landowner doesn't receive any of that. And I know you guys have a hard job, but agriculture is taking a big hit on a lot of things. And I know the cattle prices are up right now. But it doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever, because we have dips and so everybody, we're just killing a fat hog right now. Well, in a couple of years, we probably won't be. And so I'm not in favor of these things, encroaching on agricultural land and destroying what we've got. And this country may be in a world of hurt someday when they don't have food that is produced here and we have to rely on other countries for food.
Any other questions for Veronica? Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have any more speaker requests. Yep, sure can. I was going to do that after I tell them that they got to decide what we're going to do for next.
Thank you.
Got to introduce yourself just for the.
My name is Scott Edoff. We have a ranch, as Veronica told you, we have a ranch that's, half of it's in Pennington and half of it's in Custer counties. We're about 5 miles south of where the windmills are gonna go in. So we kind of have a concern about what's going on. One thing, I wasn't gonna speak, but one thing came into my mind when this gentleman right here was talking about, he was an avid hunter. I wanna ask the commission to consider, how far are you gonna have to set back the hunting on this? Because of the gunshots, the bullets. Can you shoot grouse right beside this if a grouse flies over the? I mean, this is something that needs to be kind of considered because it is a setback. And maybe the game fish and parks needs to be brought in, to be questioned just a little bit about what because they may make rules about it too. So that's just what the thought that came in my mind. I don't think that's even in I haven't read the draft, so.
I don't believe it is addressed, no.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that there may be more to this than what we're looking at today even, because maybe the commission needs to get involved with, if they want to do a setback, the game fish and parks, or if the planning commission wants to do it because of the hunting, or, anyway, that's my only comment. Thank you very much for your time.
Scott.
Oh, sorry. I'll take questions now.
Yeah, good. I agree with you. There are restrictions that the Game Fish and Parks puts on, for instance, turkey hunting is a perfect example, in regards to the close or vicinity of where the hunting can take place versus domestic housing, certain limits, fencing, so all sorts of things. So I agree with you. That is a consideration, and I'm not aware that that's in any of our ordinance or even direct addressed.
But that would affect the landowner if he had a hunting business.
Correct.
That would affect him immensely with what he can do with his own property, just like they're wanting to do with their property. Sure. That would affect the neighbor on what he can do with his property. So that's my comment. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I am out of speaker requests. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. John, I gotta have you introduce yourself again for the record.
My name is John Henderson. I represent Cross Saver, my family's partnership, Cross Savers LLP. We have property down there in eastern Pennington County, and we also have property in the Central Hills. I'm not going to go into any of this. I think you accused me once of beating a dead horse when I was up here, so I won't beat a dead horse. I think all the comments have been made, everything's been made. I guess to me it's very clear that people in general aren't satisfied with this, and I believe that, and I thank the committee that worked on this, I thank the commissioners, I thank all of you for your work, but obviously it's not all figured out yet, so I would urge the commission to take their time and not do something that wrong, or that we live with the rest of our lives. So I think the moratorium should be extended. I oppose this ordinance.
Thank you. Questions for John? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, the commission's here, and our commissioner liaison is absent. However, that's fine. Chair's here. I think I made it clear I already wanted additional time and testimony on this than what we had here. Some of these folks haven't even got the hard copy yet, as I can see from the ordinance that's proposed. Some have it, some don't. Probably, if you're like me, you didn't know how to pull it down from the internet in the first place, and maybe you're tired of paying for printer ink. Who knows anymore? And if it was, before you push the button, you don't know whether it's 150 pages long or 300. So that's my opinion. This may sound goofy, but I think there's bigger things sitting out there in this same exact category. Aren't we seeing day after day in the news about diesel generator setups for doing computer banks for this AI, and we're a perfect target for that whole stuff. And we don't have anything in our ordinances, as far as I know, and you start sticking 16 and 18 cylinder diesels out there, we're talking bigger things than hunting, and we're talking you don't need a decibel meter to find the noise. So maybe that even needs to be in something like this, because it is an alternative energy, and why they're doing it is they don't want to pay the price for even rural electric power, let alone public power. And that's what it's about. They think they can produce it cheaper and drive a better deal with John Deere or Cat on building a generator for them, only they put them, we're talking whole areas of diesel generators where they have to figure out how to get the fuel to all of them. So there's bigger things coming down the pike, but this is the one we're on. So I'm seeing, in my idea, I think this needs to be continued to the next meeting. So you guys are open for discussion, and you've told me when I'm wrong before, so don't hesitate.
Chair,
Yes.
sorry if I may, we did advertise for the Planning Commission to have at least 2 meetings on this.
Okay, that helps us. You know what she's explaining, the advertisement requirement, that 10 days and the money that the county commissioners have to spend to do it too. And it's getting more difficult for these people to publicly produce these things and give the notifications and meet the state requirements that statute does. So if we've already published, that certainly adds some validity to my asking to extend it. Go ahead and speak up. Kevin, you look like you had something to say.
I was just thinking.
Mike, you always have something
I think
to
that
say.
there's a project that's been in the works right now within Rapid Cities.
We're holding them up.
Guidance for, either an AI or just one of the banks, and maybe you guys know more about that than I do. But that's where we're headed, is to a shortage of power.
But we're headed to 6. You understand, we're all just 6 private citizens up there, and there's 1 commissioner if you don't. And basically, the only reason they pay us is so we can't make too big a mistake. The bonding company won't support us when we get sued. But other than that, you don't really get paid for the time you put in. And what he's saying is we've got to decide these things. And I think they need to be planned out like this committee did. And we've got them in front of, but as I stated at the start, I'm not in a hurry to decide it, but I know it sure puts people's planning to the side when we're talking moratoriums and this sort of thing, and you don't have a firm set of rules to deal by. As you well know, I've never seen businesses come in and directly violate the rules on purpose, but I've sure seen them to fight many new rules on their business. That's the name of the game in making a dollar, no matter what business you're in. So, again, I suggest, and I don't normally vote on these things being the chair, but I suggest we look at carrying this over to the next meeting and start getting into the meat of this thing.
When is the next meeting? What date?
27th. 27th.
27th? Would you entertain a motion then to continue
Chair
this?
would
to
entertain a
27th?
motion to continue
All right,
it.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion, ordinance amendment OA 2516 be continued to our next meeting, which would be October 27th, 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded to continue OA 25-16 to the October 27th meeting. Discussion from the audience. Now, everyone should understand that this testimony is recorded. This is official now. Anybody that's put their 2 cents in today gets it recorded. So, and we do pay attention to those things. We also do not hesitate. If you have neighbors or friends, we read what letters come in and whatnot. I do, and I know every one of them do their homework too. So, yes, you're allowed to come. You have to reintroduce yourself just to speak, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Frederick in support of the solar farms. October 27th is the next meeting. When does the moratorium expire?
November.
In November, it will be on the agenda on October 21st to extend it, on the Board of Commissioners agenda.
Okay, and when is that meeting then?
It's Tuesday, October 21st.
Okay.
Next Tuesday.
And they're voting to extend the moratorium?
That's the recommendation, but
Okay.
I don't know, I mean, what date they will extend it to, but
So I guess, thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Johnson, for taking our testimony. We won't be here on the 27th, not because we don't have a really valid, solid interest in it, but my son is getting married in Australia, so we'll be in Australia for his wedding, which is on the 25th of October. So, we just want our presence to be here, even though we won't be here. We do oppose any extension on the moratorium as well, and would propose, because this has been going on now, I think we're in our second year for this contract when the
Can I
moratorium.
interrupt you? On the 21st, are you going to be gone then?
Yes, we leave.
Are you in a
tomorrow- we leave
position where you could
Thursday.
Zoom in? You are technically
Well, the
involved?
21st is the gay halud. My son is married in Bengali woman, so they have like a 4-day wedding event.
So it may
we-
not work versus time and whatnot. And
Well, the time
what I
is-
was trying to do was then, I was trying to get away so that your opposition to that could be recorded. You're probably going to have to do it in writing
On the
then.
21st, and then we'll do it in writing, because the time difference is so different too. There's 16 hours, 17
Yeah.
hours ahead tomorrow, so.
Correct.
Yeah, also that, in opposition to the moratorium, because like I said, this has been now on the books with us for 2 years, and again, anything that's proposed by this company will be presented by a CUP to the Planning Commission, which can be addressed on an individual basis. We're, not addressing the wind farm, obviously, that I believe should be separated. They're completely two different creatures, from my understanding and research on the issues, and in also talking with Mr. Harris. But, yeah, I will get with you, Brittany, to find out how I can do a written opposition to the moratorium, and at least our testimony today will be presented on the 27th then as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Mr.
Brings up a
Chair,
good point. Go ahead.
can I ask a question? Do we need to even make a motion to continue it if it's already been advertised as being heard?
Yeah, we
We
do.
do? Okay.
We sure do. Because we are required to do an action today on it. Yes, sir. You have to reintroduce yourself again.
Sir, I heard that. Dale Harris, and since I heard a lot of community concerns here that are valid, I would love the opportunity to be able to address them, so I would like to provide my contact information to anybody who wants to reach out. My phone number is 703-489-0414.
Can you leave that with Jerry?
Yes, happy to leave it.
She's
So-
our official recorder, see?
What?
So if you leave that with Jerry, then we have it available through the planning department.
So please feel free to reach out. Happy to address any of the concerns about solar. And again, I would like to suggest that we separate the,
While you're up here, because Elizabeth alluded to it, I understand that the items here they commingle.
Yes, sir.
And because of that commingling, they are covered by the moratorium. It's still going to go a step at a time. And it's unfortunate, but we're structured by that. We've either got to decide to continue the moratorium or not, whichever side prevails. And after that, then they're still going to be commingled, and this is going to get reviewed. As to the time periods in between, I'm not going to address those. That's not my ballgame, so. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know, and I understand what you're talking about. When you're doing business, you have to have cutoff dates. And unfortunately, these are open right now, and one's considering. I would definitely, if you feel like it, if moratorium is going to be discussed, if you can't be there, make sure you have a reply to the commissioners.
I will be there.
All right.
And I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is if chosen by the board, they can be voted on separately. For the extension of the moratorium as well as these ordinances. They don't
Okay.
have to be taken as a whole.
I'm glad you know. I don't know that.
Well, not a lawyer, so I don't want to make that statement broadly, but I would think they could be.
Other questions? Thank you. I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. All right, commission members feel like they're comfortable where we're at? We've got another, somebody else wants to jump in the fray here? You're certainly open to. We have a motion on the floor, is that correct? Okay, and it is to continue to October 27th. That's where we're at. Anybody else like to speak on that from the audience? From the commission? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And we didn't have everybody here on that one, Jerry. Different number. Thank you. All right, now we got to go back to the front, right, boss? Item number 18 isn't necessary. We don't need an executive session. Thank you, folks, for your patience, especially about the recess. So on to item number 19.
So item number 19 is the county board report. The Board of Commissioners concurred with the Planning Commission's recommendations from their September 22nd meeting.
All right. Any questions on that? Don't have any public? Did we? All right, let's go to 21.
So items from the staff, we just have the building permit report. We're slightly down for the year, but kind of consistent with what we've seen in previous years. And then the other item from the staff is, we are moving to the 900 Concourse building. It sounds like the first Board of Commissioners meeting will be over there on November 18th. So the first Planning Commission meeting will be November 24th at the new building.
24th?
Yes, of November.
Not going to be the 10th.
No, the 10th, that's the first day that we'll be
Yeah,
over
a
there,
long
but
time
we
ago,
will
that's what we
convene
were
here.
looking at, but, okay.
We will convene.
Everybody get that down? So drive farther, hope not a windy day and below zero. Oh, I didn't see that. Any other items about the move?
Nope, that's it.
Items from the membership?
Yeah, I need to
Already.
let you know that I want to Zoom the next meeting and then the first one in November.
Okay.
So normally they send me a link and then I just test it at a time.
27 and
The 10th of November.
11/10. And that's LL.
Yep.
Somebody else wasn't going to, you weren't
I
going to
won't
be
be here.
for the next one?
Yeah, for the next, 27th.
27. Anybody else? The sooner we get those in, it works better for all of us, and I'll turn my dates in. Anybody got, it's our turn, items from the membership? I think we did a good, and explained to the public today where we as private citizens on this commission set. And it's difficult to have some of these things drop in our lap, and we didn't have a long time to look at them. And at least the committee members understood that too, at least. So they'll pick on me after I leave. So, other than that, I like these things kind of up front so that we don't have to try to explain to people that we're rushing anything through because of some publication deadline or anything else. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. It needs to go forward and we need to have details, so. And I do think that the commission deciding on the moratorium is a big factor in this for our future meetings too.
I have a question though. Is there anything in our proposal here that you found problematic?
Tyler Sobzak, State's Attorney's Office. By way of the proposal, do you mean the new proposed ordinance that you, well, that's a loaded question. There are certainly there are things being talked about, I suppose, maybe certain redistricting of, the utility scale stuff, setbacks, mileage from transmission lines, where if certain alterations are made based on the redistricting perhaps, that maybe it affects the things that are already in place. So I guess maybe this is the way I'll leave it. If there's a material change to what is being proposed now, I think we need to take a step back and look at the whole then. Because if one piece is going to change, that could move, another portion down below. So I guess really that's what I would leave you with. I think what the committee has put forward to you right now is a well-thought-out, nuanced ordinance. But the moment that something major is tweaked with it, there may need to be larger discussions about the remainder of it. So that's a real lawyer way of saying to be decided, I suppose. So I hope that's sufficient for you at least.
So you suggest if there's a major change like this, you go back to the committee and work it back up again?
That's certainly an option. I'm not sure exactly how the committee, if they disbanded at that time or if they're still necessarily in existence, but that's something we could talk about at the time, whether it's the committee or commission driven or driven by, maybe even you folks, it really would kind of just need to be case by case and figure it out in the future, I think would be my recommendation. But from at least my perspective, going back to the already existing committee doesn't seem like the worst idea in the world. So, but it just depends what the politicians are thinking and if that requires more work and all that stuff. So I hope that makes sense at least.
I understood it all, right? Very definite maybe. Yeah. So anyway, but I do have to ask you a question. When you review these sort of things, whether it's from us, let's not
Sure.
even say it's from commissioners or committee, anything, do you have a right where it's going to be an ordinance? Do you have to make those public? Or is it just in-house? The reply, in other words, when you review them and you think you find a little boogie-boo, does it stay in-house or does it have to be republic, like in front of the commission? If we think there's a question about whether something's going to fly or not, I use just generalities.
Sure.
You're much more specific. But are they required to do that so that the people know, the public knows?
In the past, if there has been a change that comes back from the state's attorney's office that could be legally not good, we make those changes and those recommendations, and it's usually stated during a hearing.
A lot of these things are protected under the umbrella of attorney-client privilege. So,
Kind of in that review process right now.
Yeah, well, Brittany and I already went through it once, and, there's only so much you can do until you get feedback about what else needs to be looked at.
Hear from the people. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
especially what's going to be enacted or not enacted.
Correct, exactly. Okay. And, if, you say setbacks
That
aren't.
answered my question.
Oh, perfect.
Did everybody understand the answer to that? Because I've wondered sometimes whether we're sitting on something like that's taboo or whether we should be just open about it. But so you guys try to make those adjustments before we get to that point then, in other words, to review the bumps in the road.
Sometimes there'll be like strikeouts and there'll be comments that there's a recommended change. So
Okay.
you'll see those comments or changes.
Yeah, we like to use a red line process. I don't know if you're familiar with that function in Microsoft Word, but it essentially shows, what used to be there and what is now there to kind of, instead of having two documents and having to go paragraph by paragraph to see where changes are made, we're kind of able to do it all in one document.
Much easier.
That answers my question. Any other questions from the membership or items you want to bring up at this time? I appreciate your cooperation today. I think it went well. Everybody understands the hot seat we sat on some of these things. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do it.
All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.